Hello everyone, welcome back to Financial News. Today is September 5th, 2023. My co-host Paul Munico from Ameriprise Financial and myself, Ron Jankowski with Channel 4 in Palos Heights. And Paul's going to give us an update as to what took place this last week. Paul, when you're finished, I will give you an update from Ameriprise as of this morning.
Thanks, Ron. Today we're going to talk about the post-summer economic landscape. I'm not ready to say post-summer, but it is September.
Yes, so. It is.
The economic and earnings calendars are both light this week, thus allowing investors to ease into the unofficial post-summer season. We head into this period with modestly improving corporate earnings. Expectations are sound, but likely to slow. Economic conditions are easing core inflation rates. Now, based on the current conditions, we believe the Federal Reserve is likely to maintain its current policy rate at the time of its next announcement, which is September 20th. Between now and then, Fed officials will have the August Consumer Price Index report to consider on September 13th, and retail sales, which report on the 14th. Currently, we believe core inflation, which is the headline inflation minus food and energy price changes, is likely to have decelerated for a fifth straight month in August, but the headline rate is likely to have seen a strong gain. Specifically, we estimate core CPI to have expanded at a 0.1% month-over-month pace, aided by continuing slowdown in shelter costs. The headline CPI rate, however, could see a month-over-month gain of 0.5%, according to our models. Now, the sharp divergence between core and headline is driven by this year's much higher gasoline prices relative to historical seasonality, which sees prices decline slightly. Year-over-year inflation rates also look to be notable. We forecast a further easing of the core rate to positive 4.3%. That would be down from July's 4.6%, which would be a 23-month low. Headline CPI, however, is likely to jump for a second straight month to 3.6% via our estimate from July's 3.4% and June's 3%, mainly due to higher gas prices. Meanwhile, retail sales for the month of August should also support a Fed decision to pause. Based on current data, we see August retail sales as being generally flat on a month-over-month basis. Higher gasoline prices should boost this nominally measured report, but lower automobile sales should equally weigh on the results. Last week, Ward's automotive report reported a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of new car sales of 15 million units versus July's rate of 15.7 million. And finally, analyst estimates of S&P 500 earnings have been creeping higher in recent weeks. In fact, although forward estimates typically see estimate cuts during any given earnings season, estimates for Q3 and Q4 this year have expanded by a cumulative 49 cents since the end of June. Results for the second quarter came in better than expected, with earnings per share declining by 4.2% year over year versus a projection at the end of the quarter of negative 7.4%, with actual sales were also 0.9% higher year over year versus the forecasted decline of 0.3%. Data is from FactSet and our own, so lots going on there with data and bullet points, but we'll see how everything goes.
And as of this morning from Ameriprise's news, the U.S. stock futures are mostly lower this morning after finishing higher by 2.5% last week, and with the S&P 500 posting its fourth best week gain this year. And I see that there has been some slip on the Dow Jones. Excuse me. Markets in Asia closed mixed but heavy losses in Hong Kong, a minus 2%. Europe trading modestly lower at midday. U.S. Treasury yields moved slightly higher this morning after a big pullback last week, and the 10-year at running about 4.23%, and the 2-year at 4.93%. Bitcoin futures are 0.7% lower. Gold is down 0.6%, and the WTI crude is down 0.3% after posting a gain of more than 7% last week. That's good news. And year-to-date index returns, S&P 500 is a plus 18%, Dow Jones a plus 6%, NASDAQ a plus 34%.
Holding big positive gains.
A little drop on the Dow Jones.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the update, Paul. You stay with us. We'll be right back in our show called Your Money, and Paul has a interesting topic, and we'll share that when we get back. Stay right with us. And we're back with Your Money. Paul has an interesting, and I keep saying interesting, but I'm not sure. It could be a crisis, maybe. Harmony between your wedding budget and your finances. Paul, I'll let you take it from there.
Definitely, yeah, and I'm not touching that one. We'll let the data. So if you're planning a wedding, whether it's your own or your child's, and haven't been paying close attention to the wedding industry, you may experience some sticker shock as you begin calculating costs. An average American wedding costs the newlyweds and their families just under $30,000, and that's without the honeymoon. So here's a list of tips to help you plan a wedding that works for your taste and your wallet. Tip number 1, let's discuss expectations. The future spouses and parents on each side may have different thoughts about the ideal wedding. If you're the bride or the groom, talk with your partner about what aspects of the wedding are most important to you. And if you're a parent, talk openly about the financial support you're willing and able to provide, so the marrying couple has a realistic sense of what they can count on. Tip number 2, decide on a location. So do you have your heart set on a destination wedding? That's great, as long as you're prepared to incur the added expense of airfare and accommodations and manage the logistical challenges of long-distance event planning. However, it's common for destination weddings to have a smaller guest list, which may help manage balancing that budget. Tip 3, set your guest list early, so the size of your wedding guest list impacts many wedding decisions, such as how large of a ceremony and reception space you need, the per person amount you will spend on catering and beverages, and how much it will cost to mail out the save the dates and other invitations. Generally speaking, the larger your wedding guest list, the more expensive the day is going to be. Tip 4, determine who's paying for what. It's important to have an honest conversation as early as possible to clarify who plans to contribute and how much. If you are receiving a check from another well-wisher, be clear on what, if any, expectations are tied to the money given. It's common for others to want a say in the wedding decisions if they've contributed financially. Being clear up front may eliminate any awkwardness tied to the gift anywhere some point down the road. Tip number 5, of course, as a financial advisor, I'm going to say set a budget. So regardless of who is paying, couples need to identify a wedding budget before working out the details. Allocate the dollars based on what is most important to you. Is your dream dress or venue negotiable for you? If so, think about what it means for the rest of your budget. Having clear priorities can help you confidently spend on your dream items while trimming costs in areas that you care less about. Tip number 6, research vendors. It's common for wedding vendors, which are videographers, caterers, florists. They have many tiers of service to cater to a variety of wishes and budgets. Do your research and compare costs before signing contracts so you know what is reasonable. Get all agreements, requests, and prices and decisions in writing, even if the vendor seems open and easy to work with. Tip number 7, manage your cash flow. Cash flow can be tricky, even when your finances are in great shape. Ensure you understand how each vendor expects to be paid so you can plan your budget accordingly. Some expenses may need to be paid in full to book the services, while others may require a down payment or payment in installments leading up to the wedding. For services that incur a tip or gratuity, add the cost into your budget early on. While the tips are often a small percentage of the overall service fee, they can add up quickly if you're working with multiple professionals. Number 8, don't forget other wedding events. Are you planning other wedding events such as engagement parties, wedding showers, bachelor and bachelorette parties, rehearsal dinners, or gift opening the day after the nuptials? If so, it's important to add these expenses to your budget. It's traditional for parents on both sides and your wedding party to contribute or take care of the costs for these events, but every family and situation is different. Communicate openly and be prepared to foot the bill or parts of it if your decision is more than the host is willing to pay. Number 9, hire a professional wedding planner. If you don't enjoy rigorous planning or can't afford the time it takes, consider hiring a wedding planner professionally. Now, while it's an added cost, the right planner will work within your budget to obtain the best vendors and help coordinate the big day. And number 10, put the wedding in perspective. Couples beginning a life together will likely have other financial goals, such as paying off student loans, a new car purchase, or a down payment on a home. Discuss the priority and ideal time frame of your goals to know when financial obligations are due. If you're a parent, determine if and how much you'll help. Then consider how your wedding budget fits into those other priorities. Consider working with a financial advisor who can provide an objective look at your financial picture.
Okay, Paul, how about giving your identification then?
Absolutely. Questions with financial advice or planning, you can reach out to me directly at 708-226-3412.
Have you ever had a wedding party, or before maybe they're engaged and want to get married, come in and talk to you about a financial plan?
I've had people ask me about budgets and where they should spend the money.
Interesting. I've never done that with you, and I'm just curious if people do that. Okay, for Paul Munico with Ameriprise Financial, myself, Ron Jankowski with Channel 4 and Palos Heights, we wish you good investment day.